a completely new influence, a completely new hashpah become inyan, in the sense that it's the Yom Haledet, the day of the birth of the Baal Shem Tov, and it's the day of the birth of the Alter Rebbe, the Baratanya, and in addition to that, it's also the day that the Baal Shem Tov began learning what he's saying. It's well known that prior to his revelation, to his appearance in public, the Baal Shem Tov learned with one of the great Nevi'im mentioned in the Nach, Achia HaShiloini. He's from the early Nevi'im. He was from the Beis Din of David HaMelech. He was from the Nevi'im at the time of David HaMelech, and he was a very great person. He lived a very long period. Also, he lived a long while, and the Baal Shem Tov learned personally from Achia Shaleni for about 10 years prior. Let's say they used to learn in private and in 10 years, Kamuan. And only after that, then the Baal Shem Tov became Mishkalet. So the first day that the Novi Achia Shaleni appeared to the Baal Shem Tov was also Chayel. And then later, when he finished his studies with the Achia HaShaleni, the first day that he actually appeared in public and made himself known to the world at large, as you might call it, but it was also Chayel. And the same with the Alter Rebbe, the Yom Haledet from the Alter Rebbe was Chayel. Void come inyonim by the Alter Rebbe, but they also are connected with the day of Chayel. So we see the Fizeh that Chayel is like an opening of a whole new Indian that's never been before. What we might call a Dover Shaloi Be'era, a thing which has no comparison in the previous Inyan. There's nothing comparable to it. It's a completely new start. But just when a person is born, that he has no existence in the world, and there's no such neshama, cloud in the world, and no such roof. There's no kli and there's no air, and then all of a sudden at the Yom HaLedet, there's a shinui gadol, and that he comes into the world and he begins his whole journey, as you might call it, in the Elam. But that's a pesika, how do you call it? It's an opening, and it's a start off in a very remarkable sense. The same with the Baal Shem Tov, he was also born on Chayel, and the same with the whole appearance of the Alter Rebbe in the world. But the whole Indian, like we said, that all is centered around the Indian for Chayel. The same with the Baal Shem Tov. And the same with this with Elul. We only think about the whole Indian from the month of Elul, the whole Indian of the month of Elul, like we said this morning, the Shir and the Koil. The whole Indian of Elul is also this idea of a completely new start. Have you got some problem?
No.
We seem to be
I'm always
joking. I find that slightly involved.
I'm not laughing at times.
I find that
Distracting.
yeah.
I apologize.
Is Bamira, we see that the Indian of Elul is also connected with the Indian of something completely new, a completely new start. Because if we're going to say that Elul is just the Indian of tshuva, then you're supposed to do tshuva the whole year. And if Elul is just the Indian of making a nefesh, that they call a calculus in your soul as to where you're holding, you're also supposed to do that every night before you go to sleep. In Krishna Shalamita, you're supposed to make a self-calculation where you're really holding. So if that's just the Indian of Elul, then that's supposed to be there the whole year. And also the Alter Rebbe brings in the Torah that the speciality of Elul is that there's shining or appearing the whole time the Yud Gimel Midas HaRachamim, what he calls the 13 aspects of mercy. And the Yud Gimel Midas HaRachamim we say every day in davening by Tachanun, where we had to call out in a loud voice the Yud Gimel Midas HaRachamim. And so if we announce and talk about in our tefillah in the Yud Gimel Midas Rachman, then they must be there. They must be having their effect. So what's it mean that in Elul there's a unit in Yud Gimel Midas Rachman? They're there the whole year. The Yud Gimel Midas Rachman. Elul, we have to say that in Elul it's a new start. In Elul it's a whole ischatches of a new type of Rachman and a new type of Yud Gimel Midas Rachman. Therefore, in the Siddur, in the Siddur Al Pidach, the famous Siddur, the Alter Rebbe, with the Maimon, the Mittler Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe says over there clearly that the Yud Gimel Midas Rachman, which are there in Elul, are different ones than are there the whole year. And the Alter Rebbe in Likutei Torah, in the second Ani Ladoidi in Pasha V'yei, the Alter Rebbe says clearly the same thing. He says, and I'll soon explain what I mean. He says that there's another level altogether of the Yud Gimel Midas Rachman, and even though in the famous Ani Ladoidi, but that's where he brings down about the whole union of the Yud Gimel Midas Rachman, Moshe, the Melech Besoda. Even though there he doesn't say Mufurish that the Yud Gimel Midas Rachman are another type, we have to assume that the Yud Gimel Midas Rachman are something different, because otherwise you got them the whole year. On the contrary, if they weren't there the whole year, then things would look pretty grim. As the same famous statement has it, that you have to have Rachamim the whole time. If you don't have Rachamim, it's a shver parsha. Therefore, we have to assume that there's a inif and Yud Gimel Midas Rachman the whole time. So what's the difference? The Alter Rebbe brings over there that there's another form of Yud Gimel Midas Rachman called the Yud Gimel Midas Rachman of Micha Hanovi. There was one of the 12 latter prophets is called Micha Hanovi, and the last posik in the whole of Micha Hanovi, the last posik over there says, Mi kel chomecha, neisei oven v'eiver al pesha, who is the Eivisher like you, that you bear, as it were, all the sins. V'loi higzik la'ada po, you never hold your anger as a lasting thing, etc., etc. I don't remember the last piece of the posik, but that's called the Yud Gimel Midas Rachamim of Micha Hanovi. And when you go to Tashlich on Rosh Hashanah, on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, you go to Tashlich, in the Siddur, it's written the Yud Gimel Midas Rachman of Moshe Rabbeinu, and then it's written on the top of these Yud Gimel Midas, and the Siddur does for you a job. It shows you how they're connected, how they're parallel, one to the other. So what's the difference between? The Alter Rebbe writes over there in the Siddur, or the Mittler Rebbe writes it in the name of his father, and he says the difference is that the Yud Gimel Midas Rachamim, we have to have the whole year. Rachamim, yeah, you have to have mercy to keep things going. Well, that's Yud Gimel Midas purely for holding the body together, for keeping body and soul together, as the expression has it, and for the essential physical requirements of a year. And if I mention cloud, the essential requirements for that you need Rachamim. And it's well known, the famous statement of the Rebbe Marash, where he said that after the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, that in fact it didn't have Parnasa L'Sanes. The Yiddish Parnasa is B'derech Nes. Remember the whole thing that we have Parnasa, and the whole thing that we managed to keep body and soul together, to use the expression, but that all is Ayin from Nes, Ayin Shel Maila Mi'ateva, Ayin Shel Racham. Aber mir, the Yud Gimel Midas Racham of Moshe Rabbeinu, for the preservation, as you might call it, and the daily necessities that a person should keep going, and he shouldn't end up, chas v'sholem, in a state of need, Rachmanim and so. The fact, this is the whole Indian, what we hold here, we Shrei Hashem Hashem, the meaning for Rachman, a Kedei, that should be effective, you have to do a bit of tshuva, you have to be worth. There has to be a certain kli in you to receive it. That's the Indian, what that revelation connected with Tachana. What Tachana is the idea of doing tshuva, of making yourself worthy. What's it, the Yud Gimel Midas Arachman from Micha? That's which got purely to do with the neshama. And the Alter writes over there that the Yud Gimel Midas of Micha Hanovi, they're purely for the chizuk of the spiritual life of a yid, and they give him koyches to make a whole new start, even though the whole year he's been benefiting from Rachamim. When it comes into Chodesh Shel, it's a whole new Indian, giving him power to get out of all the, what you might call the rut of the ordinary Hanoga, and getting into real Avodas Hashem, even finished chadshas, something new altogether. Yeah, a psyche, just like the Indian from birth, the Indian of being born, like Mechoda. And that's what we find if you take a look into this week's parsha in Shlishi. That was on Tuesday we learned it, and today also in Chamishi. There's another similar remark from Rashi, but there are only a few pesukim, one from the other. But on Shlishi it begins the lashon Hayom Hazeh, and Hashem mitzavcho, the Eibush is commanding you to do all the mitzvahs, chuchim and shvotim and chulu v'chulu. Rashi says over there, what's the Hayom Hazeh? I mean, it's any. What does it mean? This day. This day means every day. I mean, the whole of the creation ever since Matan Torah. So what's up Hayom? What does it mean today? So Rashi says that every time, every day, all the mitzvahs should be in your eyes like new, not with a comparing kof, not with a kof adimion, that it called not kachadoshim, but kadosh. Ki'ilu hayom nitzavesa aleihem. Ki'ilu today you were commanded by the Rabbeinu Shalom to keep all the mitzvahs. And remember, there's a whole newness which it's mamish chodam, chadoshim, without a comparing kof. So us all the shayla, how can a mensch, how is a child that a man should be able to do every day things that he does, day in, day out, and you have to keep all the mitzvahs, and all the mitzvahs are noyegim, because there's certain mitzvahs are only noyeg in certain times, of a certain percentage of all the mitzvahs anyway are noyeg, b'kol yom, b'kol chadoshim, b'kol hashonim, it's all the same meaning. Nonetheless, Rashi says that you have to be makayim the mitzvahs hayoim chadoshim keilu hayom nitzavesa. Kilu today you would have been commanded. Well, that's an amazing chiddush that you should keep every mitzvah like it was a new thing, like it just been commanded this moment. Yeah, to keep the mitzvah. Then a bit further on today's parsha, also after all the ruling, after all the what do you call it? The curses for somebody who doesn't keep the mitzvahs, then it starts off again also the Torah. Hayom hazeh niyesa lo am laHashem Elokecha, you became a people to the Eibishter. Rashi writes over there, wasn't this Hayom? Wasn't it Hayom? You're the Eibishter's people the whole time. So Rashi says, you be'einecha ki'ilu hayom niknasta lebris im Hashem Elokecha. You went into the covenant with the Eibishter. That has to be killed today. That's when the covenant occurred. As if it's the same meaning. There he said the Gabi the Etzem Kiyum HaMitzvahs, and here he said the Gabi the whole concept of a Brit. Now the truth is that there's been Brits with the Eivishter by Matan Torah. There was a Brit, and then there was a Brit with Avram Avinu, and there was a Brit with Noach. There have been all sorts of covenants in the Torah. In this week's parsha, there's a whole new covenant, which occurs with all the curses and everything which are in the Teichacha, which occur in the parsha. It's written that was like a whole new bris that the Eibishter made with the Jewish people when they get to the whole keeping of the Torah and the mitzvahs, that they went into it with a oath. It's called that they bound themselves over with the oath, and if you don't keep your own oath, then you get into a retribution, like one in Islam. There can be a Shem Yisrael, there could be a negative outcome, what we call a punishment. That was always there for many mitzvahs. Over here there's like a binding to that whole concept with the union of a personal oath on the part of each person. So Rashi says that you have to look at yourself as if this day you entered that brit. That today is the day. And that's what the Rebbe named his Sefer, the first Sefer the Rebbe published is Hayom Yom. What does it take, Hayom Yom? Today is the day. Yeah, that is the day. It doesn't matter what was before or what is going to be afterwards. Today, that's the day where you got a whole mamish at that moment, as if you just went into the whole covenant with the Eibishter. And the other thing, but again, to the keeping the mitzvahs, but you got to, how do you call it, do each mitzvah as if it was a new thing. But you just got commanded on it right now. So what are those things? Those things always occur, or those parshiyas in Parsha Kisovei always occur in Elul. That portion is always read in Elul, and it's always read around about Chay Elul. It's always read around about the time of Chay Elul, which means that there's a direct and intimate connection between this freshness and the whole Inyan of Elul. Therefore, we have to say that the whole Inyan of Elul is a fresh start. It's not just that you're just polishing up, or you're doing a bit of tshuva, or you're doing a cheshbon on everything. That you're supposed to do the whole time. No, the whole Inyan of Elul is like a new preparation of the self, in a way that you come into newness. Everything is new. Your discussion with the mitzvahs is new. You're doing it, the mitzvahs is new. You're entering into the covenant. Yeah, the whole entrance. Shalom Aleichem Yidden. Shalom Aleichem. How you doing? How you doing there, guys?
That's one.
Wonderful to see you. Come in. How you doing? Great. Did you guys see the man? I hope that after the FARBRENGEN
Danny, Shem and Zai? We don't have any hour. No, this has Shem and Zai. Does it say that?
Look. Good. You'll see. One minute.
This is all right.
9 o'clock.
Follow the Inyan for Elul is a new start. It's a new Inyan incomparable to what's been before the whole year. It's a whole, entrance into a Shachas. And therefore Rashi says in those both places, a renewal, a complete renewed state. And therefore Rashi brings in those two Inyanim, one to the other, this concept of like seeing it every minute as a new thing. That's up in, he brings up in again Chay Elul. But that's the whole concept of Chay Elul. Also we have to say that if Chay Elul just means the Inyan of Chayes, of Elul, then where have you been the whole year? I mean, where have you been the whole Elul up till now? Today's 18. Where have you been the whole Elul? We have to say that the concept of Chay Elul also is not just a Chayes, and not just a brain and doing mitzvahs and doing tshuva and improving yourself, getting ready for the Yom HaNoraim. No, the whole Inyan from Chay Elul is a complete new Ischachas. It's a new Inyan. Inyan incomparably higher and better and broader than what it's been up till now. And then Lafizeh, it comes out that the Inyan from the Parsha Kisovei, but the Inyan that Rashi brings down, but I get to the whole Inyan of newness, well, it's a Parsha which indicates, it's a Parsha which indicates the concept of newness. And Ein Aroch, Tika newness, But again, to all the inyanim and a preparation, like incomparably better and newer and fresher than what you were before. It comes out that it's a whole new idea. And the truth of the matter is, if you look into Tanya, that in the 14th chapter in the Geras HaKodesh, but that's what we're learning now, the Alter Rebbe says that Rosh Hashanah is also like that. He says that it's written in the Torah that the Eibusha looks at Eretz Yisrael, and the Inif in Eretz Yisrael really means Shviras HaMalchus, which is the source of all the influence into the world. But the Eibusha looks at Eretz Yisrael with his eyes that he has a very special attention to Eretz Yisrael, Mi Reishis Hashanah Ad Achrishon, from the beginning of the year till the end of the year. So the Alter Rebbe asks that the beginning of the year and the end of the year means always. So he could have just said Tomid or some other lotion like that, meaning constantly the whole time. Why did he say from the beginning till the end? Because the beginning till the end is only 1 year. But the next year is a new beginning. In other words, that the next year, in time it follows on in constantness. It's a new beginning. And he writes over there, the Alter Rebbe, that it's a new beginning in a way that's never been before. There's never been such a divine light as appears in the new year. It's a whole completely unmatched light that's never been in the whole, all the elements and all the derivation of all the elements, never been a that light. The preparation for that is to prepare yourself for Rosh Hashanah. To be part of the whole Inyan for Rosh Hashanah is ELUL. What is ELUL? The same idea. You got to become a new being. You're not the same guy, B'klal, in order to prepare yourself for Rosh Hashanah. But the whole Inyan for Rosh Hashanah is a completely, incomparably new thing. That's what's written in the Geras HaKodesh. The Alter Rebbe says it clearly, and that's the whole Inyan of the Yud Gimel Midas HaRachmim of Micha Novi, not the ones of Moshe. Not that I'm playing down the Yud Gimel Midas HaRachmim of Moshe, but the ones of Micha are different Inyan altogether. They lift you up into the world of Ruchnias, and they give you the Ischadshet and the Inyan from Ruchnias that's incomparable to what you've had before. It's a complete new Inyan Ein Maror. And remember, that's the message of ELUL, and that's a Chay ELUL. The Chayis in ELUL is also a Chayis Ein Maror. And if I'm not mistaken, it's brought down either in a Maimah or a Sikha from the Frierdiker Rebbe, where he says it's like in our Neshomas, we have the ordinary Chayis of the Neshoma, and then we have the Chayis, what do you call it, Kloliyas, and then you're even higher than the idea of what we call Chay Be'etem, something that's essentially alive. You know, it's not really there for any other purpose, just to be alive. So if I'm not mistaken, that's what he says, that the Inyan for ELUL is like the idea of Chay Be'etem. Because ordinary Chayis you've had the whole time, what do you mean the whole ELUL? You must have had some sort of a change. Of the Inyan for Chay ELUL is in that itself a new Chayis altogether, a new turn, and a new incomparably higher and different state altogether. Which means that every Inyan that we do from now on to Rosh Hashanah has got to be they call it like a new start. Everything is a new, every detail in our Yiddishkeit and every detail in the daily life is like a whole new Chayes, it's a whole new thing. It's never been before such a Inyan, even comparably. You can't even compare it. It's something completely fresh and new.
Is it standing on the shoulders of the previous years in that sense?
It's much from the Alter Rebbe that you don't need it. That the new light is just so immense that if you were to use the previous year, you would just be confusing the issue.
It isn't based on
It has
the
absolutely
work at all?
no
But his
relation.
neshama is said to be
No
a new
relation to the
neshama.
previous year.
The Rebbe, Alter
You
Rebbe's
see, when you're
neshama-
talking about Erev, then you can say that one previous Madrega supports and helps me into another Madrega. But when you're talking about Ein Alof, there's no comparison of, what do you call it, basis of comparison. Ein Alof, then the previous Madrega is only Mavalva. It only gets in the way, as it were. They took the Rabbi Shabbat in Samavol, when he gets to a certain Indian, in the third mime of Samavol, that's what he's noted. In Ein Arayt, there's no relying on what you had before. Ein Arayt is something fresh and completely different. But the only thing we could say is that if you never had any taste of Kedusha before, then you don't hold by Ein Arayt. You don't know what Ein Arayt is either. You don't know what incomparably better is. In other words, if you've never been in better, then you don't know what incomparably better is.
Right, there's no comparison.
In actual connection between the two, there's no real connection. But Miller, what do you do in a situation like that? How do you rise to Chayil? Is you have to sort of say L'chaim. One of the L'chaim is that gives you how do you call it, a zet, as they say in Yiddish, that moves you into a different moves you into a different area, as it were. We've got to go out into a different field. That's the whole idea of going into the field. You have to go out into the field and meet the king in the field. So, when you meet him in the field, it's a bit informal. But to go out there and meet him in that way means you've got to leave the city, you've got to go out somewhere new altogether. It's not your usual place, but that's where you've got to go. And that's where you'll meet the king in a way that he'll have a real effect on you. And therefore, if you look carefully, the Alter writes over there that after they meet up with the king, and he's greeted everybody very beautifully and very, how do you call it, comradely and very friendly, then it's written, kulam kulam aharo. When he goes back into the city, everybody goes after him, everybody runs after the king. In other words, it's a whole new enthusiasm that everybody wants to follow and be with the king together, mitzad that amazing meet-up moment that has occurred in the Sodedam, not in the ear. Even though a Yid is be'etzem ben ear, he belongs in the city. But he's gone out into the field, because Dafki there, he's going to make this unbelievable, how do you call it, elixir, something very special, meeting with the king, and that's going to bring him to a whole new life, and then he's going to run after the king back into the city, and then they're going to be both very different. Both the king will be different and he'll be different. Guys, we have to say L'chaim, and we have to realize that it's Chayil is very amazing. It's a new start. And Rashi says it before it. And if you look in all the Rashis in this week's passage, they're all sort of, almost at the end of the Bikurim, Rashi brings there that Ima Sita calls these, Yoitza Baskol, a Baskol goes out and it says, Tizker Lovei Lashona Habo, that you'll come, for sure you're going to come. And then before she learned that what the Baskol was saying, is for sure you're going to be back next year. And then there's a famous statement in the Medrash Tanchuma, I think it is. Rashi doesn't bring it openly, but it's written, the Eibusha looks down from heaven, he blesses the soil, he blesses all the people. So the Medrash says you see the greatness of the doers of the mitzvahs, that they're mahafchim, that they change the whole inyam, mahafchim is a klol aliv, Rochel or Mahafkim is Ra'al Teva, I don't remember the exact Lashon. The Friedrich Rebbe brings it down in Toshin. It's a Lashon in a Medrash Chazal that you can see that everywhere in Rashi there's like things that are being reversed into something else, and together you're being promised that you'll come back next year. It's all a very amazing note, the whole parsha. Right from the beginning, right to the end. It's a very special moment, and it's a new start. It's not just a freshening up. How do you call it? It's a movement into a completely new gear. Hashem Shalom, we make that move in each and every one of us.
Amen.
According to his koiches and according to his inyonim, and it should be in our even when Anila Doidi V'Doidi Li, the Rebbe's Medactic, that in order to have a full Elul, you got to have V'Doidi Li. Otherwise, you have only the first two ways. In order to get Elul, you got to get V'Doidi Li. which means that right from the beginning, you got the Abish to paying you in full, as it were. We got Baruch Hashem, all the Koitas and all the Ashpoyas, everything there, everything's there. L'chaim, it should be in our even. Shona Teivu, Masuka, Shona von Geula, the Pashtas. And we should forget all these tzodas. We already saw today, Rahman and Rahman, what it means letting out murderers. Immediately the first thing they do is, as soon as they get out of there, they shoot back at you. Rahman and Islam. They was a lot beaten. And Yidden should be only in a life for safety and for Kiyum, Korban Shahim. And the Rika is the same, the Scholars Melech HaMashiach, take them here.
Amen. Chaim, Chaim, Chaim,